So let's try to review Torah Lamed Gimel in a different way, in a different order than the way the Rebbe said it. And let's try to go backwards a second. First, we need to know that Torah Lamed Gimel, there's two big words that encompass the whole Torah: peace and love. Shalom, which is peace, and Ava, which is love. The Rebbe said that peace has in it three categories. One is Ben Yisrael, between Klal Yisrael. One is B'midosav, and the Rebbe takes Midosav and subcategories it into Midosav of Mairosav, in his internal attributes and behaviors internally. His everything Mairosav is the events and everything that happens external to the person, every situation, and then Ben Yisrael, between Klal Yisrael, between people. That's Shalom. In Ava, the Rebbe categorizes Ava in two categories, that in each category there are subcategories. That there is Ava Shabiyamim, which is the love that's in the days, and which the Yamim represent Yemei Tov and Yemei Ra. And there's love both in the Yom, when we say that there's Ava in the Yom, that means also in the Yemei Ra, there's also love. What is that love? We're going to explain this soon. And then there's something called Ava Shebedas, which is a love that we cannot even fathom and understand. That this love, as we learned yesterday in the Chadash B'Torah, that love that's in the Ava Shebedas, we can't understand, because we can't even understand the love. Because the love, the only way we can understand love is after there was a creation of the ben, of the child. Rebbe brought the mashal of the Av and the ben. So the love was also nister. The Ava Shebedas' love is also in the Ava Shebedas. That means just like you can't understand the love of the father to the son before the son was born or created, when he was just a thought, so neither can you understand the love that's there, because there is no, everything is in the das, it wasn't created. So how could you understand the love? So not only can't you understand the connection between father and son before he's a thought, you can't understand the love between the father and the son before he's a thought. That's called the Ava Shebedas. In the Ava Shebeyamin, the Rebbe used 4 different terminologies throughout the Torah. One terminology was to love yourself, self-love, with Hashem, with more love. And we all struggled from day one. What does that mean? Because we can't understand what that means. So how do you love more? Ba'ava Yisera. The Rebbe is saying that when you love yourself with Hashem Yisbarach, it's more love. So whatever, but that was one category, subcategory of love, to love yourself, self-love with Hashem. That means there's also self-love without Hashem. Is that really called love? Question. Then the Rebbe says another thing, lev oisai imoi mi olam hagashmi, to love Hashem together with Him from the olam hagashmi. It's another madrega of love in the yamin. By the way, this is all in the Ava Shebeyamin, because if you're loving, if it's self-love, could only be in the yamin, right? And in lev oisei imoi mi olam hagashmi, if it's ma'olam hagashmi, it's with tzimtzum, it's with levushim, then it's also Ava Shebeyamin. And then the Rebbe says another lashon, HaKadosh Baruch Hu oyeves atzmai, the Eibishter loves himself im Yisrael, right? In Siv Hey, I think that was, that the Rebbe said, there is oyeves atzmai im Yisrael. HaKadosh Baruch Hu oyeves atzmai im Yisrael. That seems to be the Ava Shebedas, because the Eibishter is loving himself with Klal Yisrael. What does that mean? So perhaps we could say that when we explain when the Rebbe starts off the Torah, he went through the mechanics of searching for peace through Torah and Tzaddikim. And then you have to know that the Eibush is everywhere. Is kulam, and even b'masamat b'muna, the Eibush ma'akum, the Eibush is also there, and you can't excuse yourself and say that the Rebbe Shalom is not there. And then the Rebbe builds, and then the Rebbe goes through the Yomim and the Yemei Ra and the Yemei Tov, and the Oisis HaTorah and the Kriyas HaYetzer, and then the love that the Eibush put into all the Taryag mitzvahs, into the mitzvah of Tefillin, and then the Rebbe talks about the two loves. So when the Rebbe comes to the self-love, it's the end of Siv Beis, where he didn't reveal yet about the Ava Shabiyam, Ava Shabadas, but he talks about that when you find Hashem and you know that Hashem is everywhere, that even before Kriyas HaYetzer, then you start loving yourself. There is self-love with Hashem, the Ava Yisrael. So for sure, that's in the Ava Shabiyam. It's not in the Ava Shabadas. So that means that the self-love, when I'm loving myself, what does it mean? That I'm loving the places that are dark. How am I loving because the Rebbe didn't talk about love yet. How am I loving the places that are dark? By accepting them. By accepting that Hashem is also in the darkness and that I have to go into the darkness and know. That means this is still in the knowledge, in the das, not in the heart yet. But just in the etzem das, that I know that and I know that Hashem is everywhere, Hashem is here, Hashem is there, Hashem is truly everywhere, then that knowledge alone is the beginning of me loving myself. Because by knowing that, that means I know that every component of me, even my negativity, even my aku, even my midoisav, even my situations, even by Yisrael, I know that in there is Hashem, even though I don't feel Him. We didn't talk about the Koifer Liba yet, but the fact that I know that awareness, that knowledge, that is already giving me the ability to love myself, because I'm starting to love everything about me. I'm loving my tivu and I'm loving my aku. Okay, so that is and why self-love with Hashem? Because Hashem is there. So if it's Hashem is there, Hashem, if every part of me is Hashem, even my negativity is also Hashem. So and Hashem, everything that He put into this world, He put in Oisis HaTorah, and He put love into these Oisis HaTorah. So Hashem loved my aku because He gave me my aku, right? So Hashem loves my aku because Hashem gave me my aku. So Memela, now that I come to self-love, so when I start loving myself, I'm loving myself with Hashem, the Ava Yisera, because now it's not just Hashem's love in my negativity. It's my love that's adding to Hashem's love with my negativity. That l'chayra is the self-love, the Ava Yisera, and that comes from the Pashut awareness of that everything is Hashem. My tivo is Hashem, my aku is Hashem, and it comes from peace, from making peace and accepting my negativity, my negative situations, and the negativity that I'm feeling from others. That's
so now I want to just add to what you're saying, which is probably what you're saying also, is that if for a person to love anything, whether it's an object, a person, it's all a reflection of you. It's all you. When I say I love you, you're loving you or you're loving yourself. Like you said, everybody's judging. I realize that in life, every second the person is judging. He's positioning his brain in a certain way of how to think. And it all interprets of judging. And judging is whether he's judging to make peace or not make peace with the situation. Every movement, now until you get that's one thing. So every movement you're doing, that's why it's all within you. When I say I love this, I love that, it's you. You're loving this phone, you're loving this safer, you're loving this table. It's you. It's all inside you. I'm saying it's not like it's an outside thing and an inside thing, sort of this week. But I want to say even more when you're talking about with Hashem. When you have peace is echad, is oneness. When you're oneness with the Rebbeinu Shalom, you and the Rebbeinu Shalom are one. it's with Hashem because it's all oneness. It's not like it's I love him and Hashem loves him. We're one. We're one thing. One thing is automatically love. And ultimately, if you're that oneness, then you're automatically loving with him. That everything, it's automatic.
So yeah, you're right. In the Shalom, the Rebbe talks about two types of peace. In the beginning of the Torah, the Rebbe talks about Lavake Shalom. At the end of the Torah, the Rebbe is talking about the Shalom HaNifla. The Shalom HaNifla means when the whole world, that the Ze'ev, the wolf, and the lamb will be able to live together. That's the wondrous Shalom. Shalom, the Rebbe calls it Shalom HaNifla. So in the Shalom HaNifla, there is a oneness. That the Rebbe talks about two hafachim that become one. Right? The Rebbe said that in the Torah. That with the Zev stays a Zev, the wolf stays a wolf, and the lamb stays a lamb, but they're able to live together, and they're not going to destroy each other, because everybody's going to see there's going to be such clarity and such das that everybody's going to be able to live in peace and harmony. What does harmony mean? Harmony means that they're not the same. When one guy is singing the low part and another guy is harmonizing, they're not singing the same thing, but together it becomes one, and they're complementing each other.
The oneness
that you're talking about is really never one. It's one from a separation. It's not oneness that becomes one. They complement each other in such a way of harmony that they're harmonizing each other, and together it's oneness. It's one song, but the song is one, but each person is playing a different part. Each person is singing a different line and a different tone and a different thing. So the oneness that you're saying, even in the Shalom HaNifla, is one, because it's one song. It's one world, it's oneness, but the unity is coming from many, many different parts that are really different and separate.
I agree with that, and you're right. We're all
so when you say one, it's the one that we're recognizing from separation. It's not the oneness that you become one. Because if you become one, then there's no separate. If we were part, if the whole Bria was all part of the Rabbi Shalom before the Bria, and that the end game is that we're all in. I think we learned this. Rabbi Nachman in Torah Samachay we had. The Rebbe talks about echad there, and I feel like over there it's a different echad, but it's still from this place. So I think we saw this. Rabbi Nachman brought it down. I think we saw this in Likutei Moharan, that if the Eibishter made a Bria, that before the Bria, we were one, and when La'asad Lavai, when Mashiach comes, we're going to be one. So what do we need the whole Bria for? If we were one and we're going to become one, what do we need to go through this process here? So Reb Nosson, I think, was masbid that the Bria that was, the oneness that was before the Eibishter created the world, was a oneness of achar ba'achar, where it's back to back. You can be one, but the face and the back can never see each other. It's achar ba'achar. So the Eibishter Kaviyachol made a separation from himself, and now the separation is going to come back to a one of panim b'panim. You understand? In other words, when it was achar ba'achar, now there's a separation, and now it comes back. So it's a different oneness. When it's coming panim and panim, it's coming from a separation. So that means it's still two parts that become one. So when we're talking about Shalom, and Shalom is bringing to Achdus, which the Rebbe doesn't mention Echad in the Torah here, Bechlal, it's what you're saying when you're talking oneness. It's not one. It's oneness. It's a unity, but it's not a unity.
Right.
It's not a unity. It's still a unity of separate components that all equal into one beautiful component.
I think the answer is also because it's all peace. The reason why he uses peace, ahava, is because you're right. In most situations, like you're saying that we just have to make peace with the situation versus that the tafkid of this Torah is to make peace. We're not looking to make oneness in this Torah. We're looking to make peace.
Shalom means one in a way because shalom means whole. So
Right.
maybe the word you're using is wrong. It's not oneness, it's whole. Shalom is from the word shalom, from wholeness. Making peace means that it wasn't whole, and now you're making it whole. So this shalom anifla that the Rebbe is talking about is wholeness, not oneness, wholeness.
So then I wanted to say is that, we spoke yesterday about the mitzvah of tefillin, why the mitzvah of tefillin is here. So interestingly, I didn't catch everything. I was by mitzvah last night, and that's the topic of conversation is tefillin. So first of all, I started thinking, you put on tefillin, connected the heart and connected the moyach, and you're connecting the heart and the moyach, right? This is with the Rabboni Shalom is in the heart, and you have a brain. This is the shalom that we have to get, from the heart to the brain, which we discussed many times, and that is tefillin. And the way he spoke yesterday, he brought a Gemara from somewhere, something about Gerim, and he didn't use the word Gerim. You probably might know where this Gemara is, and it seems like the Gemara was saying that they weren't real Gerim. And one of the rayas was that they put the tefillin shel roish first, and then the tefillin shel yad. You know that Gemara?
No, but I think it's talking about the tzedaikim, not the tzedaikim, the kutim. The kutim. No, not
they did something there, and I like I said, I'm saying I couldn't get it out, but I just there was some connection that means you can't. What I liked is that you can't go. You first have to go from the heart to the head versus from the head to the heart. That's what I have to go back maybe and ask and understand the Gemara, but I like the fact that that's what a proof that they weren't Gerim or something like that. They weren't real Gerim, they were false Gerim. But the concept of this is how Hashem he was trying to bring out to the birth boy, you have to follow exactly this and that. But the concept of tefillin, the concept of bringing it, the concept of connecting when you're putting on tefillin over here and shel rosh is to connect your heart to your brain, and the fact that you have to put first your heart. First, you're connecting to the Rabboni Shalom, and then you're going to the head. Versus if you go reverse, it's not going to work. If you're going to stop, use your brain, and then bring that to the heart, you have to come from the heart. Something I don't know. There's something of there that I thought would intuit.
That's exactly how it works. But if you remember, the Rebbe brings the Gemara in Menachos that L'toitafos ben anecha is pat bekaspi shtayim and pas be'afriki shtayim. Toitafos is really two words, tat and pas. And tat means two, and kaspi means two. So perhaps we could say again that the whole shalom, the whole shalom, which the Rebbe is bringing, this is a raya to shalom, right? That even the Lashonis of Akum, you could find Hashem, and he's bringing it to tefillin. It's that there's always two. It's two. It's shalom needs two. Love needs two. It needs two. In the Avish Bedas, it wasn't two, it was one, because it was Bedato B'Moicha. But that's because that's the originator. In other words, the origination comes from oneness. But the tachlis is that it should come, the oneness or the wholeness should come from two. Tat and pas. Why two and two? And that's how we know arba batim, by the way. How do you know that you have 4 batim in tefillin? Because it says l'toitafos, which means 2 and 2, and we're learning from the Lashonis Ha'akum. That's what the Gemara is telling you, that you need 4 parshas in the tefillin. So you see that the Rebbe is talking about peace, which peace needs to have 2 components. So if it becomes one, it's not peace anymore. It becomes whole. I think the better word is that it becomes whole, not that it becomes one. And that the derech that it comes from is from the heart, which is interesting because the four batim, the four parshas that are in the Tefillin Shel Yad, you have one klaf with four parshas. In the Tefillin Shel Rosh, you have four compartments, and each compartment has a different parsha. And Toitafois is Beinei Necha, is going on the Tefillin Shel Rosh. And we know that the Tefillin Shel Rosh is really bigger than the Tefillin Shel Yad. Now, if you really want to go through the four parshas, we know that the Rebbe said Tzarech Ladas, Shekol that Meloi Cholaretz Kevodah, less Asa upon him, Memala Kol Amim, Mesoiv Kol Amim is four. So in the Tefillin Shel Yad, it's all one. In the heart has, the Rebbe says in the end of the Torah, that the heart is the place where all the midas are. Where are your midas? Where are your attributes? Your chesed, your gevura, your teferes, your netzach, your ha'id, which is the components that make up your behavior. They're all in the heart, the Rebbe says. It's in the end of the Torah, it's in the heart. What does he say? Midas vayomim heinechlalim belev. The midas and the days, any kind of tzimtzum is all in the heart. And the midas are in the heart. In the brain, it's l'chayra, all one. So it's l'chayra. You have a question. If that's true, then the Tefillin Shel Yad should be the one with four components, because all the midas, the separations, are in the heart, but in the brain, it's all one. But the Rebbe says, "V'tzorach ladas meloi chalaretz kevodah v'les asa upon him v'malak kol ha'am v'soiv kol ha'am." So, and in the Tefillin Shel Rosh, they're separated. They're in one tefillin, but it's separated into four different batim. It's four compartments. So what I'm trying to say is that shalom is oneness, and shalom is also separate. You see that this same thing, there's a global one that has one klaf that has all the parshas in it, and then there's four separate parshas, and that they become one. And the Shel Rosh is the real tefillin. Yet you make a bracha on the Shel Yad. You understand? It's interesting. I don't know exactly how this plays out, but you see connection here. You see connection to all the things that the Rebbe is saying, that they're intertwined, and exactly how they're intertwined, I don't know. But anyway, the Rebbe is telling us about peace, and that peace is really taking two parts and making them one, or multiple parts and making them one. And that's what the Rebbe is trying to get to, that we need to make peace, b'midosav, b'mayrosav, and ben Yisrael, and those are the ways of building love. And you see right away that this is what I was saying before, is that once you come to this place of ladas, that you know about these things, you have the das, you are automatically coming to self-love, even though you don't feel it in your heart yet. You didn't get to the heart. We didn't talk about the heart yet. But in the actual awareness of that Hashem is everywhere, once I know Hashem is everywhere, I know that He's also in my midas, in my akul, and my tivu, and He's in Bein Yisrael, and in my roisav. That in itself brings me to the first step of self-love, where I'm loving myself with Hashem, with Ava Yisrael. Then there's another madrega of b'mayrosav, which means ma'olam agashmi, and that means loving that I'm loving Hashem from this world, which is also in the Abba Shabiyamim, but it seems to be like that's another madrega. B'mayrosav, that situation, no matter what, I also know that it's Hashem, and now I'm able to love Hashem from this yamim, whether it's a Yemei Tov or Yemei Ra, I'm loving Hashem from that place. And then there's another madrega of HaKadosh Baruch Hu Oyeves Atzmai in Yisrael, which that seems to be the Ava Shebiyamim, because the Eivishter also has self-love, because we're all part of it. So when we come to this elevation, we or the tzaddik, let's even talk about the tzaddik who perfects it, who perfects the kfiyas hayetza, and he comes to the madrega of He loves Hashem in every midah, and every moirosim, and every ben Yisrael. He has peace and acceptance and love, self-love, and love between Klal Yisrael. Then Hashem is loving Himself with Klal Yisrael, because when Klal Yisrael comes to that madrega, which that's, I guess, la'as and love, when we come to the ultimate, the shalom hanifla, the big shalom, that's when Hashem is able to have self-love. Because kol zman we don't love Him, and we don't have self-love, and we don't accept Him in every situation, then He's not able to love Himself with Klal Yisrael. The only way He's able to love Himself with Klal Yisrael, what does it mean, love Himself, self-love? He's loving us, because us and Him were one Kodem Abriya. There was Avash Das, where that taka was oneness. That Avash Das is in the Das. There's no separation in the Das. There's no levush in the Das. There's nothing. It's oneness. Over there, it's oneness. So when we, through the Bria, through the separation, come to love Hashem, and we come to this Shalom HaNifla, that's when the Eibush is able to come and love Himself with Klal Yisrael, and that's the higher Madrig. So the Rebbe spoke about these two big components of Shalom and love, and with all the subcategories of this love. Now the Rebbe is explaining that how does the mechanics work. So again, we're going back and forth through the Torah. I'm going a little bit backwards. The Rebbe is telling us that really everything that exists in this world exists in the form of the Oisis HaTorah, because there was a tzimtzum. The Rebbe explains about this whole thing of tzimtzum, that really Mireishas HaMachshava Ad Nekudas America Shalel Magashmi, the billions of madregas of tzimtzum, of godliness, where God is mitzamtzim, and there are levushim and layers that are concealing the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What is this tzimtzum? This tzimtzum that the Eibishter was mitzamtzim himself was in the form of the Oisis HaTorah. These Oisis HaTorah are a form, and there's an aleph, and there's a base. And these Oisis HaTorah are what give godliness and life and sustenance to everything that exists in this world, to every object, every situation, and every feeling. Everything is encompassed, and time and place, everything is encompassed in these Oisis HaTorah. And the further that these Oisis HaTorah are from Reishis HaMachshava, the more tzimtzum there is, the more levushim there is. And those tzimtzum and levushim are what we perceive as aku and yemei ra. Says the Rebbe, if the young ra re'eh, that even though you're going through these challenges of yemei ra, which are really concealment of Hashem, but you know that Hashem is there, but you don't feel that Hashem is there. The Rebbe says that if you're kaifa liboy ledata, and you force yourself not to blame, not to complain, not to blame yourself, not to blame another Jew, not to blame the situation, not to complain about the situation, not to run away from the situation, but to accept that this is Hashem, no matter what's happening, it's always Hashem over there. Then you, even though you don't feel Hashem, but you kaifa liba ledata, that means you're being makasha, you're laid to your heart, and you're saying, my lave, which is full of my yomim and my midas, with his complete separation, and I'm taking my heart and I'm connecting it to my brain that knows that when I'm doing that thing, then even though I don't feel Hashem, then I am revealing these Oisis HaTorah that are inside. And these Oisis HaTorah make up the mitzvahs, the Taryag mitzvahs. And every mitzvah that Hashem gave us, He gave us a mitzvah in order for us to be able to connect Him, because Be'etzim, the Eibush is infinite, and we are finite. And the only way for finite to connect to infinite is to have some finite that is infinite. What are that? Those are the midas of Hashem. Ava, Yira, the Rebbe says, those are the midas. So the Eibishter, how did He give us those midas? Through the Oisis HaTorah, because in the Torah is full of the midas of the Eibishter. So the Oisis HaTorah be'etzim have Hashem's love in it, because He gave that as a tool for us to be able to connect Him and love Him. So that means He put His love to us in those Oisis HaTorah. So if we know that everything that exists in the world has these Oisis HaTorah, so we are able to reveal these Oisis HaTorah, even though they look like they're covered up and concealed with Yemeira and Choshech and darkness. But if a person is Koifer Liba L'Datei, and no matter what situation he's in, and no matter what he's feeling, and no matter who he encounters, he's always going to know that Hashem is there, even though he doesn't feel Hashem there. What he's doing is he's revealing these Oisis HaTorah. And when he reveals these Oisis HaTorah, now he's giving the ability for the Avash B'das, the Oy Rav Mila'ela, to shine on these Oisis HaTorah and to feel that Hashem, not just to know that Hashem is there, he will feel in that situation, in that feeling, in that person, he will feel Hashem's love, even though what he had to go through was Koifer Liba L'Datei, was forcing his heart that doesn't feel that Hashem is there to his knowledge that Hashem is there. The Rebbe is telling you that these Oisis HaTorah will be revealed, that when you separate the levushim from the Oisis HaTorah, that's when you're giving the ability for the Oy Rav to come to the Eila, and you will feel these Oisis HaTorah. Now, the Rebbe, yeah,
I want to know who makes these coverings. Who's you're saying the more the talk is it us?
Yes.
I want to find it. Is it us?
It seems like there's two different motions here. There's a motion of tzimtzum, which is tzimtzum means concentration, where God is concentrating his light to smaller and smaller. And there's another motion of layers, levushim, that are concealing the light in every tzimtzum. The tzimtzum is happening from above, and the levushim are happening from beneath. Who's making the layers on top? Us. Every time we're not koifer liba l'datei, we are the ones that are making these levushim. So these levushim, layered, and the choshech is shoyra, darkness is coming from us. That's how we say it.
So 2,000 years ago, there was more light than now? The Oisis HaTorah were more lit?
Yes, sure. The more materialistic the world became, the more...
So the fact that there's electric now, and there wasn't electric,
is a levush.
Mm-hmm. But it's a good look.
You didn't need electric. You didn't need electric. Let me ask you.
They were happy with
before there were cars, right? Before there were cars, they had horse and wagons, right? Donkeys, horse and wagons, camels, whatever they used as a vehicle to travel. Were they missing out?
That's what I was about to ask you. That you can't ask me that.
Why not?
The answer is they no, because they didn't think they were.
And they had lamps,
but look,
candles. Were they missing out?
But look. So in their brains, they weren't, because they didn't know anything more
than that. Not in their brains. They really weren't missing out, because they had more of God's light. They didn't need electricity in order. They didn't need cars and planes. They had God's light. Whatever you're searching for, they had, because there was more godliness in the world. There was more revelation of godliness. The more technology gets more advanced, the more concealment there is of godliness. And
because we think it's natural.
Yes, so let me ask you, so where are you better off, with more concealment of godliness or less concealment? So what they had was they weren't missing. There was no void, because they were fulfilled with godliness. They didn't need electricity as a convenience for them, because they had so much godliness that even when it was dark and they didn't have a candle, they were light. They had the light. We need light because we're so distant. We're so distant.
But who made? Now go back to that.
So when
who made us so distant? Somebody did
advance. It just means there's more concealment.
So who brought this tumult onto us? Is it us? Is it my Avera?
We did.
So the fact that I go look at something I shouldn't look at means I'm bringing more
darkness to the world.
Coverings.
Darkness to the world.
So you're right. bringing a new level of internet, a new level of this, a new level of that. That's going to be more of a need for the next generation, which is going to make it more concealed who the Rebbeinu Shalom is.
Correct. Correct. Correct.
So 1 second. So I have the shlita to make the next generation suffer.
You have what? Say that again.
I have the shlita to I can make the next generation suffer. I'm not making myself suffer. Meaning by me doing an avera, I'm making the next generation, or I'm making myself suffer. Am I making my kids and my grandkids suffer?
What?
An avera.
Yeah.
Which is bringing more coverings of the Oisisai Torah. Is that affecting me?
You're making more distance from Hashem. You're building the Gashmias of the world.
Correct.
But at the same time, you're giving the opportunity for that person to love Hashem from a more distant place, from a more
correct.
Which is big. That means he's going to be so you're giving the ability for new Kabbalah Torah.
Right, to go both ways. Right, you can bring more Torah.
It goes both ways.
And that, but that doesn't. What I'm trying to say is that's why I'm saying the chapping the galus of yichus, and they say there is a concept of yichus. There is a thing, So it means, am I causing the next generation because I'm doing an avera? Meaning, they say if I do an avera and I don't find the likus in the situation, I don't come out of it properly, or I come out of it properly, but I don't do it all the way. Am I causing my next generation or Kollel Toras Chaim, whatever it is, doesn't make a difference. I'm not trying to particularly say, am I, by me doing it, like the world stands on me, sort of to speak, which they say, every year the world stands on him, right? By me not doing something properly, I can be causing so many people suffering because I'm covering so many more Oisisai Torah.
Right. Correct. You are. We are. We said that I don't know if you remember. I think I said this to you. I think it's a huge, beautiful chiddush. I said it over in a few shurim that the Rebbe says in the beginning of the Torah that the way to find Hashem in every situation is through the Torah and the tzaddikim. So the Rebbe talks about the Oisisai Torah throughout the Torah, but he doesn't really talk about the tzaddikim. He mentions Malach Hashem Tzvakos. He mentions that the tzaddikim are toiv, they're and they're toiv and the and that's in the toiv and the Imeira. But he doesn't really say how to reveal these tzaddikim. What do you mean? The Rebbe talks about tzaddik just like the Zatika Torah, the Atika Stima, that you're revealing the hidden Torah, the ancient Torah, but he doesn't talk about the tzaddikim. So where is how do I find Hashem with the tzaddikim? The Rebbe is telling you have to find Hashem through the Torah and through the tzaddikim. So if you remember the Rebbe at the end of the Torah, the Rebbe says that everybody knows that there is God, but Harashaim hem bereshus libam. The Rishaim are in the heart, they're in the reshus of their heart. And the goal is to be the tzaddikim. The heart is in their reshus. So, and how does the tzaddikim get that the heart is in their reshus? Because they're koifel liba l'data. They're being mekasher their heart to the brain. So that means what happens when I'm not koifel liba l'data? What happens when I fail and I'm not koifel liba l'data? I get angry at my wife. I run to Averis. I blame Yankel, Moshe, Beryl. I blame the situations. I complain. What happens when I'm not being koifel liba l'data? And I can't overcome it. The Rebbe says that's considered rishoyim that are rishus beliba, right? But when you are koifel liba l'data, what are you? Tzaddikim. That's what the Rebbe says. You become doimel malach Hashem tzvakos. So the Rebbe is telling us that every time that you go through an aku or a yemeira and you're koifel liba l'data, you reveal the tzaddik that's in you, because everybody underneath is a tzaddik, Everybody underneath his Yemei Ra, even though you're not doing the right thing, but in your Yemei Ra, in your not being Koifel Libel Adate, underneath it is the tzaddik. The only difference is, are you Koifel Libel Adate or you're not Koifel Libel Adate? So every time you're Koifel Libel Adate, you're revealing not just the Oisis HaTorah, but you're revealing the tzaddik, the Malach Hashem Tzavakos that's in you. And that's the tzaddikim that the Rebbe is talking about.
K'mayni mamish, Nachman says.
Yeah. Every time you do Kfiyas HaYetzer, you're doing the same avodah that the tzaddik is doing. The tzaddik perfected it. But you're doing that avodah, and by tapping, like we said in Torah Samachay, but we're tapping into the emes of tzaddik, the Malach Hashem Tzavakos, Kisif Sekoyin, Yishmeru Das Mipiu, what you're doing is when you listen to the Torah of the tzaddikim, when we learn the Rebbe's Torah and we're tapping in and we're koifel liba l'datoi, so even though we did a small little tiny koifel liba l'datoi, but when we're connecting to the tzaddik who perfected the koifel liba l'datoi, that's what's bringing the shalom hanifla. That's bringing the Abba Shabbadas. That is bringing the real Shalom HaNifla of the Gar Zev and Makeves, and that is the ultimate mission of the world, is to bring the parts of the world, the twos, and to make them whole and to make them one in a beautiful peace, love, and harmony.
Have a great day. Call me if you get a hold of him.
Call you later.
Bye.